The phone on my nightstand lit up at 3:09 a.m., and from under the bed, beneath the dust and lost socks and the paperback I had meant to finish, a small voice whispered, "Don't answer." I answered anyway. Habit is stronger than fear when you've trained yourself to be a person other people can reach. Hello? Nothing. The kind of silence that has corners. Hello? From under the bed. He's pretending to be you. I sat up and turned on the lamp. My room rearranged itself around the light like a guilty thing. My heart stacked itself back into the shape of a heart. I swung my legs over the side. The floor leaned cold against my soles. "Who's there?" "Don't look," the voice said. "Please." I'm not brave. I'm tidy and punctual and good at taking notes. I'm the person you call when your kid needs picking up and you're stuck in traffic. But you don't ignore a voice under your bed in the middle of the night. You either check or you move. I checked. I lay flat and peered into the dark. If this were a movie, there would be two eyes reflecting the light. Real life is worse. There was a blank rectangle where the dust had been disturbed. There was the paperback. There was a phone. My old phone. The one I'd lost 2 months ago and told myself I must have left in a cab. It vibrated in my face. Unknown caller. The screen lit my cheeks from below, ghost on a flashlight style. "Who are you?" I whispered, not sure whether I was speaking to the old phone or the voice or my own good sense. "Don't answer," the voice said again, and the old phone stopped vibrating like a dog perfectly trained. My current phone buzzed against the lamp base. A text from Mom. "You up?" Mom didn't text at 3. Mom didn't know the difference between a text and an email. I called her, suddenly wanting to hear her voice say, "honey," and not "honey," the way moms can say the same word for completely different emergencies. She answered on the first ring. "You up?" she said, as if she were reading the text to practice. "Are you okay?" "Of course. Why?" "You texted me." "I would never wake you. Are you sick? Why are you calling so late?" We did the dance. I apologized. She forgave me. I hung up and stared at the old phone under the bed. I reached for it and froze when it vibrated again. The current phone buzzed. Video call request from Zoe. Zoe was my ex-roommate. She loved me in the past tense, and that's okay. I tapped accept. Her face filled the screen, too close. "Hey," she said. Cheerful, but wrong. The way people in commercials smile at their cereal. "Look at you. You called me. I wanted to make sure you were alone." "I am. Why?" "So I could tell you that I'm outside." My stomach did something quick and small. "Outside? Where?" "Your window." I turned to the window with the slow dread of someone expecting a jump scare. The curtain moved as if something behind it had sighed in relief. I stood and went to it. I peeled it back 1 inch. The night stared back, thick and blank. We lived on the second floor, treetops and the top half of the streetlight. You could only be outside my window if you could fly or if you knew the building well enough to use the fire escape like a second skeleton. The fire escape was empty. "Open it," Zoe said, "please." "What's the password?" I asked. It was a game we'd made up when we were 20 and bored and needed to pretend the world wasn't already open to whoever pushed hard enough. We'd text a nonsense question. The other would answer with a song lyric only we would think of. "Which one?" she said. She never said which one. She always knew. "I'm hanging up," I said. "Don't be like that," she said. And then, as if someone else had taken the phone away from her and pressed it too close to his mouth, "Let me in." I hung up. I moved away from the window and felt the old phone under the bed vibrating like a trapped insect. I lay on my stomach again and pulled it out by the cord I'd somehow never noticed. The screen was cracked. Notifications bloomed, dozens, hundreds, missed calls, voicemails. A group chat named Girls' Night I had never joined. I scrolled. The earliest was the day I'd lost the phone. The number was mine, not my current number, the old one. I pressed play on the first voicemail. My own voice filled my ear, breathy and small. "It's me. Do not answer your door." I listened to 7 more. Each one, me. Each one more urgent than the last. It felt like listening to someone practice being terrified. It felt like hearing the future. The voice under the bed, if there had ever been one, was gone. The place under the bed was a geometry problem again. I sat up and hugged the old phone to my chest like a ridiculous talisman. 3 things happened fast. First, my doorbell rang. It's not a ring. It's a complaining buzz that hints at electrocution. It went on too long, like a kid with their finger on it to prove a point. Second, my current phone vibrated with a text from the building's entry system. Zoe requesting entry. Third, the old phone lit and displayed a text I had allegedly sent to a number I didn't recognize. Come up. I didn't move. Maybe if I didn't move, the world would forget I was the main character for a while. My tongue felt like a foreign object, something that had been placed in my mouth for an exam. "Please," a voice said at my door. Not Zoe, lower, tired. "Maya?" He said my name like he'd already been using it for an hour. I called 911. The operator asked for my address and told me to stay on the line. I said okay. I wasn't okay. The buzzing stopped. The door was a thin thing wearing a wood disguise. I stared at it until I was cross-eyed. A minute later, a soft knock. Then, weirdly, a tiny scrabbling, like someone picking at the paint around the peephole. I couldn't help it. I looked. An eye looked back. It was my eye. No, of course not. It was Zoe's. It had that liquid spill sadness she always had when she was trying to be okay for my sake. "May," she said, "it's freezing in the hall." "Say the password," I said, and my voice in the peephole matched mine, and I knew that whatever it was had learned enough about me to scale up. Her mouth pressed to the crack around the door. "You never had a password." The hall grew quiet. The building thumped somewhere deep in its bones. Down the line, the 911 operator told me officers were on their way. I wanted that to be good news. Then my bedroom window, the one I'd checked, the one above the empty fire escape, made a quiet sound. A little rubbery squeak, the kiss of a seal giving up. I turned. The curtain lifted as if by a breeze, and behind it, a hand. Pale, missing the tip of the ring finger. The hand slid the window up the rest of the way with patient care. "Don't," someone whispered from the floor. The voice again. "Please." I backed to the door. I put my palm flat against it and felt warmth through the wood, the heat of breathing on the other side. 2 at once. The door, the window, the old phone buzzing like a wasp's idea of prayer. I did the only thing that felt like me. I talked. "Zoe, if that's you, we had a fight on New Year's Eve about me leaving dishes in the sink because you were convinced it would lead to rats. And I told you that rats wouldn't celebrate the new year with my plates because even rats had standards, and then we danced anyway and kissed at midnight and pretended that solved anything. That's the kind of thing you would know." A pause. The breathing at the door went still. From the window, a low chuckle. "Cute." I ran for the kitchen. I grabbed the biggest knife we own, which is also the worst knife we own. It's more of a suggestion than a blade. I turned to face the corridor between the window and the door, and realized how narrow my life had been arranged. The window man came in on a long, certain motion, like he had measured the distance 30 times. The missing fingertip looked like a decision. He smiled at me with my own mouth. "I knew you'd pick the knife," he said. "What do you want?" I held the knife in what I hoped was a way that meant business. "To live here," he said simply, like he'd practiced the line, like he'd been denied it before. "To be you for a while." "Why?" "Because you're better at it," he said, and shrugged with my shoulders. Behind me, the door opened a crack. "May?" Zoe's voice again, small and real. If it wasn't Zoe, then the world had moved out from under me. "Please." The window man put a finger to his lips. "Let her in." "No. She thinks you're in danger." "I am." He nodded, accepting that like a weather report. He took a step forward. I took a step back. The living room felt like a stage after the audience left. Too many chairs. "Drop the knife," he said pleasantly. "Make me." He glanced around, nose wrinkling. "You always light that candle when you're nervous," he said. He picked it up. Lavender and cedar. My therapist had recommended it. That felt like a betrayal. He licked his finger and pinched the wick. The room dimmed. "Officers are here," the 911 operator announced in my ear from the phone I'd forgotten I was holding. "Do not engage. Let them in." "Don't," the underbed voice said, closer now, as if it had moved into my shadow. "He'll be them." I believed both. I believed everything. I made a choice I will not be proud of to my dying day. I opened the door. 2 officers stood there, uniforms and polite concern, and the kind of stance that says they can lunge before you can. The female officer, Ruiz, her badge said, took in the scene with a sweep. The male officer smiled at me with a mouth just slightly too wide. "Ma'am," Ruiz said, "we got your call." I started. "Right here," the male officer said, and his voice slid like a knife through pudding, becoming my voice at the edges. He stepped around Ruiz and into my apartment as if he already owned it, and for a second I saw a flicker in Ruiz's eyes, a shadow like a thought she'd left in the car. "Stop," she said to him, and her hand went to her radio. He turned and, without moving his mouth, said into my head, "Open the other door." My body moved to obey. This is the climax, I suppose, the part where something shocking happens after all the little shocks have softened you. Here it is. I dropped the knife on my foot. Reflex. I bent to grab it. Ruiz used that second to shoulder the male officer into the hallway wall. They struggled, uniforms making the same sound as paper bags. I looked at my hand on the doorknob and forced it to let go. It felt like yanking a thorn out backward. I slammed the door instead of opening it. The chain caught. The window man hissed. The male officer laughed like me. Ruiz shouted, "Back up," into the radio. The old phone buzzed with another message from myself. "Stay in the bathroom, lock, water on." So I did. I ain't a hero. I ran to the bathroom and turned on the water. Hot. Steam rose fast, thickening the room until the mirror gave up and the world dissolved. I sat in the tub with the knife and closed the curtain like a kid. This part after is fragments, feet, voices. The building waking up to a fire alarm someone had pulled. People in the hall telling the story of my life with details I didn't recognize. Ruiz's voice tight and precise. The window slamming. The door doing its best impression of a door. Hands pounding, "Police!" And other hands pounding, "Let me in, May, it's me, please, I shouldn't have left." "They took him away," Ruiz said later. "They took something away. A man in an officer's uniform who hadn't signed in. A man who did not show up on any camera, except as a silhouette you recognize when you've already met yourself from the wrong angle. Zoe came up 3 hours later. Broad daylight made her look new. We cried in the kitchen like a cliché we were allowed. We picked up the knife from the tub and put it in the drawer where it would sleep again. The old phone sits under the bed. I can't throw it away. It's my emergency brake for a train that has never stopped. Sometimes it rings at 3:09 a.m. and I don't answer. Sometimes a voice under my bed whispers, "Not yet." And once in a while, the operator from that night calls me during daylight just to ask me to confirm my address, her voice all bureaucracy. I tell her, and after a pause she says, "You already told me," and hangs up before I can ask who in the story is pretending to be who now. The other day, I woke to the old phone glowing blue like a shallow ocean. It displayed a single message. "If you ever move, take me with you." I'm not brave. I'm tidy and punctual and very good at following instructions. I made a note. I set a reminder. I will pack the dead thing with the living. When I go, the voice goes, and with it, maybe, the part of me that wants to answer every knock. But at night the window breathes as if someone on the fire escape is practicing being me, and sometimes the peephole fills with my own eye blinking back, and I think, maybe this is the world now. Maybe we are all missed calls from under our own beds,